Hi students, this is part 2 of section 4.2, Graphing Linear Equations. So for the rest of this section here in 4.2, we're going to be working with what you see called a function form. When working with equations, sometimes it might ask you to write the equation in function form, and that is when you isolate y, meaning getting y all by itself on the left side of the equation. So here we have an example of negative 3x plus y equals 4. To write it in function form, we would isolate y, getting it all by itself. So to do that in this situation, we would add 3x on the left side here and add 3x on the right side. So we'll be left with y equals, and we want to write it with the x being first, so function form would be 3x plus 4. So what would the function form look like here? Well, when you have this original, negative 3x plus y equals 4, the function form of that would be y equals 3x plus 4. That would be your answer, writing it in function form. They might give you something like this. Let me give you another example. So they might have here 2x plus y equals 6. Well, we got to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2x to both sides. So I'll write it in the function form of y equals, x comes first with the function form, so it'd be a negative 2x plus 6, and that would be my answer to that example. Other situations you're going to be working with the rest of section 4.2 is graphs of an equation. So when you are given an equation, you have to pick values and solve that equation and then graph points. So it says the graph of an equation is when the x and y are sets of all points, x comma y, they are solutions of the equation. So for instance, today in class, we were given an equation, and they gave you an x and y, and they wanted you to determine if it was a solution or not. Well, now we're going to continue with this and take it a step further where we are going to graph those points on a coordinate plane. So the steps to graph a linear equation is you're going to rewrite the equation in the form of y equals, sometimes you see it in the form of called ax plus b. So you put it in the function form. Then you're going to choose a few values of x and then solve y to create a table of values. And then you're going to plot the points from the table of values, and you're going to create a line. You're going to create a graph on that coordinate plane. So let's go through some examples of working with the function form and then graphing equations of lines. So first here it says rewrite the equation in function form. So here we want to get y by itself. So we're going to subtract x to both sides. So we're going to get y equals negative x minus 7. Or you could write it as y equals negative x plus a negative 7. That means the same thing. Here for b, we have 4x plus 2 plus 2y equals 10. Well, we want to get y by itself. So let's first subtract 4x to both sides. So what we're left with now is 2 plus 2y equals, I'll write it in the form of that ax, which is negative 4x plus 10. Now I'm going to take care of this 2 here by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2 to both sides. On the left side it cancels, so I have 2y equals negative 4x. Now 10 and negative 2, we can combine that because those are like terms. So that's going to give me a plus 8. I do have y by itself here, but notice we have 2 times y. We need to get rid of that 2. So in order to do that, we have to divide 2 to both sides. So now what I'm going to be left with is y equals, when you divide 2 to the right side, you divide it to the negative 4 and to the 8. So negative 4 divided by 2 is going to give me negative 2x plus 8 divided by 2 will give me 4. So that'll be my answer there for B. And that would be my function form. This next example is where they want you working with graphing of equations. So the first step that, notice we're going back to a few slides. The first step they wanted in the function form. Is this equation in function form? It is. So we can just write it as y equals x minus 4. The next step is they want us to pick values. Step 2, pick values for x. Oops, sorry, my pen keeps doing that. And solve for y. So I can choose here, I like to make a function table where I choose a few x values. So I could choose, let's say here, 0, 1, and 2. And then I use my function here, y equals x minus 4 with these x values to solve for y. So I can have here 0 minus 4 is going to give me negative 4 for y. Here I'll plug in 1 for x, so that's 1 minus 4, which gives me negative 3. And then here we have 2 minus 4, which gives me negative 2. So now notice my x and y, this is now ordered pairs. So this would be step 3 where we graph. So we have 0 comma negative 4. We have 1 comma negative 3 and 2 comma negative 2. I'm going to graph these points on my coordinate grid right here. So 0, negative 4, we start at the origin, 0, 0, 0, and then we go down negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my first point. My next point is 1 comma negative 3. So I start at the origin 0, 0. I go to the right 1, and I go down negative 3 from there. 1, 2, 3. Plot my point. And the last point, the third point, would be 2, negative 2. So we go to the right 2, and we go down 2, and we plot our third point. Now, when you're doing this in the book, I would like you using a straight edge. I don't have one here, but you can now connect the points and have that be a straight linear line, we call that. So that's how you go about solving those kind of questions. Let's do one more of these examples. So here we have use a table of values to graph the equation. Here is our equation, negative 2x plus y equals 1. So step 1, we need to put this in the function form, which is in the form of y equals ax plus b. So what I need to do here is I need to add 2x to both sides. If I add 2x to both sides, I'm going to get y by itself. So it's going to be y equals 2x plus 1. That will be my function form. My next step, I need to pick values for x to solve, plug it into the function form to find my y value. So again, maybe I want to choose a negative. I could choose negative 1. Wrote that down on 0 and 1. So I'll plug those values into this x here. So we have here 2 times negative 1 plus 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, plus 1 is going to give me negative 1. Now I can plug in 0 for x, so that's going to be 2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 will give me 1. Next we have 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So now I have my ordered pairs. Oops. That's going to be negative 1 comma negative 1. We have ordered pairs of 0 comma 1 and 1 comma 3. So let's plot those 3 points. Negative 1, there's your first point. 0 and 1, so 0 and up 1. Then we have 1 and 3. Now I can connect those 3 points, to make my linear line right there. So that's what you're going to be working with the second part of section 4.2, and we'll go through this on Tuesday when we all are back in class.